Hey guys, it's Juliana, and today I wanted to share with you 7 things that I learned in 2017. So for me, 2017 was a challenging year. I went through some periods of depression and anxiety. I had struggles with my friends and family. It was just a difficult year emotionally. Even though there were a lot of hard things that went on in 2017, for me, 2017 was really a year of growth. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about loving myself. I learned a lot about God. I learned a lot about the importance of having connection with people in your life. So today I wanted to share with you 7 things that were key takeaways for me from 2017. So the first thing is that God is a healer. And through those times that I had this year of depression and anxiety, the thing that brought me the most relief was God, and digging into my Bible, digging into a devotional, just learning more about God and about His goodness. And that to me really helped to heal my broken spirit and my broken heart, and to just put the pieces back together and know that, these small things that are causing me these problems have no comparison to how big and how great our God is. The second key takeaway from this year is that only God can fill your voids. And for me, this one was a little bit more challenging to learn and to get used to, because a lot of the times I look to the world for my worth and my joy and my fulfillment instead of looking for it in God. And so learning that, my worth is found in God and not in how many friends I have or how many likes I can get on Instagram or how popular my tweets are. Like, knowing that your worth and your joy and your peace and your comfort and your fulfillment can only be found in God is just something that's so amazing. And once you figure it out, then you're kind of like, well, why didn't I know this the whole time? And so 3 points that I want to make with the second key takeaway is that your worth is only found in God, your contentment and fulfillment is only found in God, and your joy is only found in God. And those are three major things that I needed to remember, and that I think a lot of you will need to remember too. Takeaway number 3 is that positive self-talk is important and necessary. And this one to me was kind of weird at first, like it just sounds strange. But a lot of times our minds can be filled with a lot of negative thoughts because we overthink, or we hear things that are bad, or we hear rumors, we worry about things. And so a lot of times our minds are just filled with all of this toxic waste, basically. And so we have to have our positive self-talk to take out those negative thoughts and replace them with something good. A key thing for me was finding a Bible verse that went along with it. Key takeaway number 4 is that it's okay to let go. And not only is it okay to let go, but sometimes it's also really necessary, because we hold on to things that don't need to be in our lives anymore, and God's saying doesn't need to be in our life anymore. And whenever we let go of those things that God's telling us that we don't need, then we make room for God to come into our lives and to do work in our lives, because now where that space is, where that person or that thing was taking up, now God can come in and fill that with what He wants it to be and what goes in His plan for your life. The 5th thing to remember is that you are always enough. And this one is so huge in our society today. I think that every single person needs to remember this. Even if you think that you don't need to remember it, I still think that you do. Because a lot of things in our lives can make us feel like we're failures. They can make us feel like we're not good enough, or we're not smart enough, or we're not pretty enough, or we're not skinny enough. And our media loves to publicize this and say, if you're not wearing a size 0, then you're fat and you need to lose some weight. And so knowing that you're enough and that you're always enough no matter what the situation, that is so important, and I think that every single person needs to remember that. The 6th point, which is also my favorite point, is to remember to always make your faith the first priority. And this one seems kind of like a no-brainer, but it's actually something that you might think that you're doing, but you're not really. And so ways that I made my faith a priority this year were to start my day with a Bible study. So I had a couple little Bible study things that I did this year that were just about 5 minutes long, and so when I'd wake up in the morning, that was the first thing I did. I did it like while I ate my breakfast, and before I even started my day, that was the first thing that I would do. It started my day with a positive thought to reflect on throughout the day and to make sure that I was adding into my daily life. And then another thing that I did this year was read a lot of Christian books, and those were good because they had a lot of scripture reference, but they also made it where it was more like real world, real life. I could relate to it on a daily basis kind of thing. So it helped me to see like, this is what the scripture says and this is the intent that it has, instead of just reading it and being like, well, I have no idea what this is. It actually helped put it into play in my life. And another point that I want to make to that is that whenever you make your faith your first priority, everything else falls into place. Because whenever I would start straying from God and I wouldn't be reading His Word as much and praying as much, I could tell that things in my life seemed to not be going as well. Like, my depression would get worse. I would be anxious all the time. I wasn't comfortable and confident in my day-to-day life. And so whenever I would take the time to read the Bible, read a devotional, pray, meditate, whatever it was, then I would feel more in touch with God and I would feel more confident with my life and the way it was going. The seventh and last point to remember is that everything happens for a reason. And this year, that was very true, because there was a lot of things that happened in January or in February that I'm looking back on now in December and saying, oh wow, well, I see why that had to happen because that stopped this from happening, or I see why that happened because that wasn't really healthy, or that wasn't something that I needed to be doing or that she needed to be doing. And I know that whenever you're going through the situation, whether it's a breakup or you're losing your best friend or you're just having a hard time, I know that whenever those things happen, it's hard to look forward into the future and say, oh, something good is going to come out of this. But every single time something good happens, and everything happens for a reason, and that's so important to remember always. That's my 7 things to remember from 2017, and I hope that you all had a good 2017, and I hope that if there were hard times that you can look back on them now and say, oh, this is why this happened, and it was a good thing that it happened. And I hope that you all have a great 2018 and you go into it with a positive outlook, because I think it's going to be a really good year. If you're not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below and make sure that you're following my blog. I'll put the link to that in the description. 2018 is going to be full of a lot of new content on my YouTube channel and my blog, so make sure that you're checking those out. I'll see you in 2018.